Okay, let's dive in. David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me. I mean, it's kind of blown up everywhere, hasn't it? Really challenges how we think about our own potential.
It absolutely has. It's everywhere.
But, beyond the slogans like stay hard and all the viral clips, what's really underneath it all? What's the method to this radical transformation he talks about?
That's exactly what we need to unpack today. Because you're right, the book isn't just him telling his life story.
Yo,
No, it's framed as like a direct challenge to the reader, almost an instruction manual for changing yourself.
an instruction manual.
Yeah.
Okay.
So our mission here is to pull out those core ideas, especially what he calls his warning order. It's a really powerful and sometimes, let's be honest, uncomfortable philosophy.
Right. Uncomfortable is probably a good word for it. So if you're listening, get ready. We're going to look at a perspective that really pushes back hard against comfort zones, against what you probably think your limits are. So when we talk Goggins, you almost have to start with where he came from. This isn't some story about a guy who had it easy.
Oh, not even close.
What was his life actually like before all this transformation started?
It's it's genuinely harrowing stuff. He actually says he was born broken.
Wow.
Yeah. Endured constant, violent beatdowns as a kid. Was tormented relentlessly in school. He mentions being called nigger more times than he could count.
God, that's brutal.
Absolutely. And on top of that, poverty, living on welfare and subsidized housing, dealing with just crushing depression. He uses phrases like being at the bottom of the barrel.
Stock.
Exactly. Caught in quicksand, as he puts it. Just pulling him down deeper.
It's just such a bleak picture, which makes his current persona, him calling himself the hardest man God ever created.
Right. The contrast is staggering.
It really is. And he says he got there because he sought out pain, even fell in love with suffering. That phrase alone, fell in love with suffering. Most people would run a mile from that.
Yeah, it sounds extreme, doesn't it?
It does. So what does he mean by suffering there? Is it just about pure physical pain or something else? And, is that something everyone needs to do? Embrace suffering like that.
Well, I don't think he means it in a purely masochistic way, like just hurting yourself for no reason.
Mhm.
For Goggins, suffering is more like um, uh, the intense discomfort zone. It's the place where growth happens, the crucible.
Okay, the crucible.
Yeah. And he connects that whole brutal journey directly to this belief he has about all of us. He claims most people, doesn't matter if you're rich or poor or whatever, are living at maybe about 40% of your true capability.
40%, that's less than half.
Exactly. And that's not just a throwaway line for him. It's like the bedrock of his whole approach. He's challenging this idea we all have that our limits are fixed.
So the real point is these mental barriers we put up.
Precisely. These huge, often unconscious walls we build around ourselves. He forces you to look at them.
It's kind of a scary thought, isn't it? Thinking about what potential we might just be wasting.
It really is.
And that leads right into his view on motivation, which, again, and is pretty controversial. He calls motivation crap.
He does. Just dismisses it.
A temporary fix. I mean, why so many people rely on motivation just to get going on anything?
Well, his reasoning is pretty stark. He says motivation doesn't fundamentally change you. It doesn't rewire your brain. It won't amplify your voice or uplift your life.
So it's superficial.
Kind of, yeah. He believes that your struggles, your bad hand, as he calls it, that's yours alone to deal with. It's all about intense internal accountability. Forget external boosts or someone giving you a pep talk.
Right, no quick fixes.
No. For him, real change has to come from deep inside, like an absolute non-negotiable drive, not just some emotional high that's going to disappear tomorrow.
Which is why he thinks it's fleeting.
Exactly. It doesn't build that resilience, that mental toughness you need for the kind of transformation he's talking about.
That focus on internal drive really sets up that story about him at MIT, right? The Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
Oh, yeah, that's a great anecdote.
Tell us about that. You've got Goggins, who barely scraped through high school, on a panel with, like, a pop professor.
Right. So this esteemed professor is talking and makes the claim that there are real genetic limitations, hard ceilings, basically saying some things are just impossible no matter how tough you are mentally.
Okay, the academic view.
Exactly. And then Goggins, coming from this place of just incredible lived experience, he pushes back. He says something like, there's something to be said for living it instead of studying it.
Wow, direct hit.
Totally.
Yeah.
His whole point is that maybe a tiny fraction, like 1% of people, are willing to do the insane work required to actually defy the odds, to achieve what looks impossible through sheer heart, will and an armored mind.
So lived experience trumping theory.
In his view, absolutely.
Hmm.
Grueling, direct experience can shatter those theoretical limits.
Okay, so he talks about being that one warrior. He references that old Heraclitus quote, out of every 100 men, the one is a warrior. What's that mean for, say, you listening right now? How do you become the one warrior?
Well, Goggins believes you're kind of eligible from birth.
Yeah.
The potential is there,
Okay.
but it's completely on you. You have to choose to equip yourself for the battle ahead. And the way you do that, he says again and again, is by mastering your own mind.
Taking ownership.
Total ownership, and then forging that potential through just extreme discipline, extreme self-confrontation.
You mastering your mind. It sounds huge, maybe a bit abstract. Does he actually break it down? Like, what's this proven path look like day to day? Because it really does sound intense, not like flicking through a self-help book.
Oh, it's definitely intense. And yeah, he does lay out the elements. If you tie it all together from the intro, it's about learning how to truly face reality.
No sugarcoating.
None. Holding yourself accountable for everything,
Mm-hmm.
pushing way past pain thresholds, learning to actually love what you fear.
Love what you fear. Okay.
Yeah. And relishing failure, seeing it as data, living to your absolute fullest potential, and through all that, finally find out who you really are.
And the difficulties.
Yeah.
The bad stuff.
He's very clear. All those things, racism, sexism, injuries, divorce, depression, obesity, tragedy, poverty, whatever it is, those aren't just roadblocks.
No.
No, they're the fuel for your metamorphosis. They're essential ingredients, not just things to get over. They're what build the strength.
Fuel for metamorphosis. It really does sound like less of a book and more of an emotional boot camp you sign up for.
That's a pretty good way to put it, yeah.
So what's the actual mission brief then? You mentioned this warning order framing. How does he lay out this tough transformation for the reader?
Right, the warning order.
Yeah.
It's unique. The whole book is framed like a military brief aimed straight at you, the reader.
Okay.
The situation is laid out bluntly.
Yeah.
You are in danger of living a life so comfortable and soft that you will die without ever realizing your true potential.
No punches pulled there.
None. Then the mission. To unshackle your mind. Ditch the victim's mentality forever. Own all aspects of your life completely. Build an unbreakable foundation.
Unshackle your mind. Ditch the victim mentality. Okay.
And the execution part tells you exactly what to do. Read this cover to cover. Study the techniques within. Accept all 10 challenges. Repeat. Repetition is key. It will callous your mind.
Callous your mind, like building calluses on your hands.
Exactly. And he warns you up front. If you do your job to the best of your ability, this will hurt. This isn't about feeling good.
Right.
He says, this mission is not about making yourself feel better. This mission is about being better and having a greater impact on the world. And then, of course, that famous line.
Don't stop when you are tired. Stop when you are done.
That's the one. And finally, the classified section reveals the hero of this whole story is you.
You, the reader.
You, the reader. And the genius of framing it this way, it's not just how direct it is. It immediately changes your role. You're not just passively reading.
No, you're on a mission.
Exactly. You're suddenly a participant in something serious, something non-negotiable. It shifts your mindset from learner to, well, soldier almost.
That is incredibly compelling. It's
Yeah.
definitely not just a book you pick up and put down. It's a direct challenge. And that final line in the intro really hammers it home. It's time to go to war with yourself.
Powerful stuff.
So wrapping up this deep dive into Can't Hurt Me, it really does show a philosophy that just runs counter to so much mainstream thinking about comfort, about motivation. It argues for a path that's, frankly, way more grueling.
Much more grueling, yeah. But potentially profoundly transformative.
And what's really interesting is how Goggins talks about it almost like an evolutionary algorithm.
Yeah, that's his term. Like it's a process, a system for just obliterating barriers, finding not just strength, but also, surprisingly, maybe lasting peace.
It's through extreme effort.
Seems to be the idea. Understanding what your body and mind can actually do when you push them to the absolute max. That intense self-confrontation, he suggests, leads to this deep self-mastery, and from that, a kind of peace.
Okay, so for you listening right now, here's maybe a final thought to chew on, something provocative. If Goggins is right, even partly right, that most of us are cruising along at maybe 40%.
Yep.
And his path requires you to literally go to war with yourself. What's just one small, maybe uncomfortable choice you could make today? Something that starts pushing you just a little bit beyond your usual perceived limits? What could start your